Hi guys, Elizabeth Blackstock here, US Editor over at planetf1.com, and I'm stepping in for Sean today to answer one big question. Did Yuki Tsunoda do enough at the Japanese Grand Prix? Before we really dig in, I want to recap this very quickly. At the end of 2024, Red Bull Racing announced that it was dropping Sergio Perez after a very difficult season, and the team naturally needed someone to take his place. That someone, they decided, should be Liam Lawson. Now, Lawson only had 11 Grand Prix starts under his belt, which made him a much less experienced choice than his fellow Racing Bulls driver Yuki Tsunoda. But Tsunoda's ties with the Red Bull program are largely thanks to his association with Honda. And since Honda and Red Bull are parting ways at the end of 2025, well, why promote a driver whose strategic partnership with your team is ending? So with that in mind, Red Bull went for Lawson. But after Lawson failed to score a single point in the first two races of 2025, the team decided that his promotion was probably a little premature. After some emergency meetings in Milton Keynes that brought together key Red Bull personnel and team investors, they made the call. Liam Lawson would swap seats with Yuki Tsunoda, and the Japanese driver would make his senior team debut at his home race. In the press release announcing that trade, Red Bull team principal Christian Horner pointed out that Red Bull's ambitions this year are twofold. It wants to retain the World Drivers' Championship, and it wants to take the World Constructors' Championship back from McLaren. He called the driver change purely a sporting decision, one that was made to allow Lawson a chance to continue growing as a driver, and one that would also give Red Bull the best shot at developing its notoriously tetchy RB21. It was Tsunoda's experience in innovating cars then that made him such an attractive fit for the team. But as we've talked about here before on the F1 Word, no driver has ever really been able to match the benchmark set by Max Verstappen. So it's super important for the team's new drivers to know exactly where they stand and exactly how to succeed. Before the Japanese Grand Prix, media asked Tsunoda if Red Bull had outlined any expectations, and he had a very specific answer. They clearly said the main priority is Max, which I completely understand because he's a four-time world champion, and so far already during the last few races, even in the car's difficult situation, he's still performed well, Tsunoda said. The expectation is to be close as much as possible to Max. Also help the development as well with my feedback. They seemed very happy with my feedback I gave in Abu Dhabi during a postseason test, so just continue that. But I think for now, the main priority is to be closest to Max, which won't be easy for sure. Despite all of that, Tsunoda said he didn't feel that much pressure. Instead, he felt pretty confident that he could handle the second Red Bull seat in a way that no other driver had done before. And when the on-track sessions got underway, Tsunoda looked impressive. He finished just 1/10 of a second behind Verstappen in FP1, but Christian Horner was quick to reset expectations. Talking to Sky Sports after Friday practice, Horner told media that the team would provide a totally different setup to Tsunoda when compared to Verstappen. Max's ability to extract lap time from the car is unique, Horner said, and I think that we haven't seen another driver able to do that in the way that Max is able to. And so therefore, I think you need to give almost a calmer car to whoever is the partner driver, to give a more settled and predictable feel. That's not necessarily the quickest car, but it is definitely a more confidence-inspiring car for whichever driver. That became apparent as Tsunoda's performance dropped off a little bit in later practice sessions. But what might have been a cause for concern in the past seemed not to bother Red Bull. Take qualifying, for example. Of the 4 Red Bull-affiliated cars on the grid, Tsunoda qualified the lowest, way back in 15th. So while he was able to make it to Q2, he ended that session as the slowest driver on track. And one slot ahead of him was Liam Lawson in the Racing Bulls machine. But was Horner worried? Not in the slightest. I think he's done very well, he said of Tsunoda. I think to jump in at his home race under considerable pressure, what we've seen in the 3 sessions so far, very mature. He's got up to speed quickly. He's been on the pace and been giving very good feedback. So out of what we've seen so far, yeah, he's doing exactly what we were hoping for. I think it's fair to say that the Grand Prix itself is not going to go down in history as one of the most interesting races of all time, and much of that comes down to Suzuka as a circuit. With one single DRS zone and a narrow track surface that just got repaved, overtaking is a challenge. Yet despite that, Tsunoda cruised up from 15th to 12th. That left him outside the points, but with a better finishing position compared to where he lined up on the grid. So let me go back to the initial question I asked at the start of the video. Did Yuki Tsunoda do enough at the Japanese Grand Prix? For a lot of people, it's going to depend on how you look at it. Tsunoda managed to make it out of Q1 in qualifying, which gave him a leg up on Lawson, but his 15th place starting position didn't do him any favors. And while he was able to make up positions in the Grand Prix itself, he still didn't manage to finish in the points. We saw some glimpses of greatness, but they were just that, glimpses. But those facts alone don't tell the whole story. Tsunoda didn't have any testing in the RB21 before he got behind the wheel in Japan, so he was effectively learning the car as he went. Add in all the extra media attention that comes with racing in your home country, and Tsunoda was likely feeling pressure to perform that wouldn't have been there if his first outing had been at literally any other track. When you take all that into consideration, it kind of makes sense that Red Bull was pretty pleased with Tsunoda's form no matter what. After the race, Helmut Marko, a senior advisor for Red Bull, and probably the most difficult man in the paddock to please, praised Tsunoda for having a solid race. He pointed out that a better qualifying position would have made for a better finish because overtaking is tough at Suzuka, but overall he sounded happy. Christian Horner was equally complimentary. I think Yuki has settled into the team, he told media. He's given very good feedback. He was 15 kilometers an hour quicker than he's ever been into turn 1, and had a moment, and then you're chasing the lap the rest of the way. But in a race where I can't remember seeing any overtakes, I think had he qualified higher, he would have finished naturally higher. Now that may not sound like Horner is jumping for joy, but that's a resounding thumbs up from the Red Bull team boss. I particularly want to point out one thing Horner said, that Yuki's given very good feedback. Tsunoda has battled with his temper for almost all of his career, and that has had a tendency to cloud his judgment. It's also one of the main reasons that men like Marko and Horner cited when passing over Tsunoda for promotion. He's too hot-headed, and it prevented him from being able to truly work with the team. The fact that he's now being praised for the very thing that has long been his weakness is a sure sign that Tsunoda passed this first test with flying colors. How he'll fare in the coming races remains to be seen, but as far as the Japanese Grand Prix goes, yeah, Tsunoda did enough. But what about you? Were you impressed by Yuki Tsunoda's Red Bull debut, or did he leave you wanting more? Did Red Bull make the right call? Let us know down in the comments. That's all from me today. Please make sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the F1 Word, and check out planetf1.com for more deep dives into all things Formula One. I'm Elizabeth Blackstock, and I'll see you next time.